Juliet, can you hear me? I'm not sure I have sound. Come on, Pete.
There you are.
Hi, Pete. I see you.
Yeah, I don't know why she's not coming into this.
I was looking up her slides because I don't see a way to share.
Yeah, so you see that little TV screen with the red line through it?
Yeah.
That's the share.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know why people don't figure that one. Everybody looks at that and goes,
"Oh." I scrolled over it and it says integrations used during a recorded session will not appear. So it doesn't tell me that it's a share.
No, I know, but you got to block that red line out. And when you click on it, you're going to get a couple questions.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I've got to pull up her.
How do we get her in? I got her selected. I got her email right. I gotta look at her. All right. Well, I'm gonna hop over.
Do you see this?
You got to share it.
I did. Oh, maybe. Hang on.
No, there's a couple steps.
So
up at the top right corner, there's some stuff sometimes too.
Let's see. I'm not seeing
it either yet.
I see that. Hang on. Let me go back to this. And no, I can't get that on my other screen. Becky says, what should we do?
Unless she tries to log out and log back in. She's using her right email, right? The Becky Bronsky at 7gen. She's using the 7gen email because that email is everything. If they don't use the same email that they were registered under, they won't be able to get in. Was she in the sessions earlier today?
She was in the stage.
She was watching.
Yeah.
Okay, because she didn't come in on the stage. But yeah, she was watching. Okay, so she did get in. I got nothing to give permissions to let her in there though.
All right, I just asked her about 7 generations.
Okay, we do have people that are watching this, so
gee,
our language. So I see. I think Juliet Kerr said I have visual and sound, so I'm assuming she can see us.
All right, you know what I need to do is then go back to just my files because I have this saved as PowerPoint
Okay.
rather than Google, and try and bring that up at least.
Yeah, she said yes, huh? Okay.
Yep, me, yes.
I don't know why I got her as a moderator, as a presenter.
Okay, so
The only thing that might happen is maybe she won't get access. Oh, okay, there you go.
that's me.
Yep, that's fine. Now can you change the view to the full screen?
Yeah.
Because you've got your presentation mode there. You know your preview. So
Well,
down at the very,
let
you
me
see
go
down
for
at the very bottom. Yeah, there you go. Okay,
Okay.
and you're seeing yourself along the bottom.
No, I don't see myself at all.
Oh, okay, okay.
Which
So
is fine, but I just need to get Becky in here.
yeah, I know, and I don't know how to get her in unless she just joins us at. Oh, we're gonna start here in a minute, so we'll see what happens at the witching hour or what happens on this.
Well, here, I'll tell her to log out and log back in.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got some people joining us now. So we're just working out some details.
So if she comes in as just an attendee, Pete, can you give her the mic?
I don't think so. We'll try. And we're getting some thumbs up.
So Pete, you can see me.
Yes.
And others can see me too. Hi,
That's correct.
everybody. I'm just sitting here in my office. I can't see anything but the presentation. I did, but we'll do it again, Becky said. So we're having a difficulty bringing the main speaker in, even though I contributed to this project. Becky is really the one that did all the graphic design and put it together. So I think it's really important that we try and get her in here. And I can't see any of you, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How many do we have, Pete?
Looks like there's 13.
Becky can't get in. Just see the description. I don't even see the slide deck. Can you ask people on this if they can see the slide deck?
Yeah, we can, and Jen Jarlin can. Everybody seems to see it.
God, everyone but you.
So I'm not sure if the registration that Becky went through was incomplete. There are a couple steps that need to be done in order to finish registrations off sometimes. That sometimes can challenge us, but
Pete,
Amy raises a good point. Is Becky signed in on 2 devices? Sometimes that could do something.
I'll ask
like
her. Pete, you see on your phone, I've got you in this conversation, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you see that I'm in the session? Pete, can you see?
Yes, you're here. Everybody can see you, Mary.
No. Becky is asking that.
Oh. Only if she adds something to the chat.
She did already.
Well, there was something at the beginning that said, "Can you read this?"
Add something to chat.
And that was the last time we saw her.
All right. Because I can't even see the chat. All I see is the PowerPoint.
Correct. Well, Yeah. So our guests can see everybody in the room. We just can't. It's always fun.
So don't stick your tongue out at me. That's not nice. Did she add something to, it shows that I'm in and I can see who's there.
Okay.
Had to drop it, Pete.
Yeah.
If I get out of the slideshow, can I bring her in? I didn't see any way to do it.
No, I don't believe so. She has to be popping up on here. Your screen. You want to hide your screen there, Mary?
Hide my screen?
Well, just click on the little screen logo and it'll go away. Remember the little the screen with the red line in it? When you click on that, it'll...
You know, I tried to click out of it. Is that better? Is this better?
It's still there.
What is still there?
The PowerPoint presentation is still there.
All right, I started to click stuff. Is that any better?
Well, it's still there.
What's still there? Oh, the
PowerPoint. Whatever you're seeing on your screen is showing up on our screens.
And that's what you want, right?
It is, unless you're going to go and check email and things like that.
Oh, okay. I was just backing out to see if I could get into the... Would it work for her to do it over the phone?
We don't have a phone. There's no phone to this program.
Let's see. I'm going to restart my computer. Did you see my chat? Would it work for me to do it over the phone and you put your phone to the computer? Yeah, that could work.
You could try that if you want to talk with her.
Let's try it so we can...
have her call you. Have her call you.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. Patience, not that you have a choice, but hopefully you're still hanging in there with us.
Yeah, we've got about 19 people in the room.
Okay, she's going to call me on my cell and we'll try it that way. She's trying to log in one more time.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm just trying to keep our audience updated. I can't do shadows with my hand. Sorry. I could read a poem, maybe. No, I don't have one handy. So let me do this. While Becky's figuring this out, let me go ahead and do the introduction. So when she comes on, she can get right into the meat of this. The session is the Food Waste Reduction Toolkit for Illinois Schools. It's for K through 12 schools. And it's a comprehensive resource that identifies the main sources of food waste and offers strategies for food waste prevention, food recovery, and redistribution, composting, education, and engagement, and of course, celebrating successes. So let me give you a little bit of background about Becky. We work together on this toolkit as well as have Becky oversees schools in Evanston, Skokie, that we've been working together for about 14 years through SWANK. But she is now the Zero Waste Schools consultant at 7 Generations Ahead. an environmental nonprofit that builds healthy and sustainable communities for the last 2.5 years. She works with staff and students to shift operations and minds towards generating zero waste through source reduction, recycling, composting, and food recovery. Becky co-authored the Food Waste Reduction Toolkit for Illinois schools. And for the last 14 years, she spearheaded efforts. I'm going to put you, Becky, I'm reading your bio, so hang on, okay?
Okay.
This should work.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
All right, hang on. Got to finish you. So for the last 14 years, she has spearheaded efforts in her local school districts, Evanston Skokie School District 65, one of the largest in Swank communities, and Evanston Township High School District 202, to implement commercial composting and recycling programs in 13 schools, launched a food recovery program, and a wide array of other waste reduction initiatives. Becky also works as a zero waste consultant for Collective Resource, a food scrap pickup service that serves Chicagoland area. And with that said, Becky, take it away.
All right. So good morning, everybody, and I hope you can hear me okay. I'm so sorry about the glitch. This is kind of crazy. So hope this works okay. So super excited to have you guys join us today to learn more about reducing food waste in schools. We hope that you come away with a better understanding of the issues around food waste in schools and what can be done to prevent and reduce it. In today's webinar, I'll give an overview of the toolkit, its strategies and resources, and we'll also highlight a handful of case studies so you can see what these strategies look like in action. And at the end, I'll share some other ideas for preventing and reducing lunchroom waste. So next slide. To start with a little background, the Food Waste Reduction Toolkit is a project of the Wasted Food Action Alliance and was developed by 7 generations ahead in collaboration with many partners in the Alliance. The Wasted Food Action Alliance is a diverse set of organizations based in Illinois, helping to build a unified approach towards reducing wasted food through collaboration, education, and policy. Please visit the Alliance's website to learn more. And Mary can enter that link in the chat.
You know what, Becky, just real quick, I can't see the chat, so I can't enter the links until after our presentation when I stop sharing.
Okay,
so everybody just stay tuned to the very end so you get all the links that Becky talks about.
Okay, and we'll follow up with an email with all of the resources that I share as well.
Okay.
So if you guys can't get to copying and pasting them, no worries. So 7 Generations Ahead is a nonprofit whose mission is to build ecologically sustainable and healthy communities. And our Zero Waste Schools program works with school staff and students to shift operations and minds towards generating zero waste through source reduction, recycling, composting, and food recovery. Next slide. The toolkit started as an idea in 2018 and was completed in April 2020, just in time for the pandemic. The toolkit is intended to be a comprehensive resource to help schools take action to reduce wasted food. It identifies the main sources of wasted food in schools, and it provides strategies to reduce food waste, some of which are relatively quick and easy to implement, others that are longer-term, multi-step initiatives. The toolkit also includes several case studies highlighting inspirational efforts in schools across Illinois, and it has links to a wide array of resources. While all of the case studies and some of the information and resources in the toolkit are specific to Illinois, there's plenty here that may be useful to all K-12 schools, regardless of their location. And if you haven't already done so, I invite you to please download a PDF of the toolkit from our website, and we'll give you a link to that later on.
If you can see me, this is what it is.
So next slide, please. The strategies in the toolkit are based on the EPA's food recovery hierarchy, which prioritizes food waste reduction strategies from most preferred to least preferred. Source reduction, which is reducing the volume of surplus food generated, is the most effective way to reduce wasted food. The next best solution is recovering uneaten surplus food to feed people, then diverting food scraps to feed animals, then using food scraps to generate energy, then composting food scraps to create a nutrient-rich soil amendment, and the last resort is sending food scraps to the landfill. Next slide. The toolkit's organization follows the EPA hierarchy and is divided into the following sections, which you see here.
Whoops, maybe I'm not on that. Hang on.
Slide 5.
Okay,
Looks like you're on slide 4, Mary.
that's slide 4.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah. It just says what the sections are.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I
Now-
see.
Okay. Now slide 6 is we're going to start looking at the scope of the problem of food waste in schools. Over 7 billion school meals are served each year in the United States. Much of this food is feeding landfills instead of nourishing students, while 1 in 6 children is food insecure. Methane is created when food decomposes in a landfill, contributing to climate change. And ReFed, the national nonprofit that's working to end food loss and waste across the U.S. food system, has estimated that uneaten food in K-12 schools, whether from plate waste or overproduction, contributed to the equivalent of 2.89 million metric tons of CO2 in the atmosphere in 2019. This is a result of the energy that it takes to grow, process, and transport the wasted food, in addition to the methane that is created when food sits in the landfill. Wasting food also wastes, as I just mentioned, water and energy used in farming, processing, and transporting the food, money spent on landfill disposal, labor along this entire supply chain. This toolkit can help schools reshape the way children think about food. Like classrooms, cafeterias are places of learning, and addressing school food waste can provide options for authentic, place-based education. Okay, next slide, please. So here is a snapshot illustrating the problem. This graph shows the results of a lunchtime food waste audit at a middle school with about 980 students. This audit focused on plate waste, or the waste on students' trays. Overall, lunch on this day generated 449 pounds of waste materials, which is about 0.46 pounds per student. 75% of this amount, or 337 pounds, was wasted food, which turns out to be about 0.34 pounds of food waste per student. Next slide, please. Food production records were used to create this pie chart, which shows what happened to the food that was served on that same day. The red slice shows that 48% of food and milk was consumed, while 52% of the food and milk was completely uneaten or partially eaten. 9% of that was leftover milk, 18% was food scraps, and 25% was completely uneaten food and unopened milk. Next slide, please. So what are some of the factors that contribute to food waste in schools? Seated lunchtime was not long enough, generally, for students to eat due to waiting in line and transition time. Students are required to take a certain number and type of food items to meet the requirements of a reimbursable meal. There's a lack of understanding about offer versus serve, especially for milk, and I'll get into more detail about what offer versus serve is in a few slides. Food items are often heavily packaged, making them time-consuming to open. Whole fruits, such as oranges and apples, take longer for students to eat. Portions can often be too large for younger students, and students have a need for social time, so they may be talking and chatting with their friends instead of eating. Slide 10, please. Next slide. Since it's hard to solve a problem without understanding it, the first section of the toolkit is all about measuring food waste using waste audits. Waste audits involve sorting and measuring categories of waste by volume, weight, or counting. They can be done as students come up to dispose of their materials, or they can be conducted at the end of lunch once all the waste is collected. Waste streams can be sorted and then weighed at the end, which is the easiest to do and takes the least amount of time. Alternatively, waste can be sorted into categories once all materials are collected. Either way, waste audits are great learning activities for students. An audit can also be used to analyze practices and policies that impact waste generation, such as length of mealtime or if offer versus serve is practiced. Conducting a waste audit is an important first step to any waste reduction effort. A waste audit can determine which waste reduction strategies will have the biggest impact, can establish a baseline, can be useful for determining supplies and equipment needed. It can provide data to demonstrate impacts and benefits, and it's a great way, as I mentioned before, to engage students and staff. Next slide, please. So the case study highlighted in the measurement section of the toolkit features Gourmet Gorilla. They're a school food service company serving the Chicagoland area. They provide approximately 35,000 meals per day to almost 300 sites, and they measure food waste to better plan their meals. Roughly 90% of the meals they prepare are cooked from scratch in a central commissary using a target of 70% locally and sustainably grown ingredients. They use a computer application and digital scales to measure food waste from the lunch line. Their serving staff at each school enter the starting weight and number of portions delivered to the school. And after meal service, the leftover portions are counted and weighed, and the data is digitally recorded. This data is used by the administrative team to track student preferences and meal participation to better plan future orders. This system currently results in an average of 10 to 15% food waste reduction from the service line. Next slide, please. So the second section of the toolkit is on preventing food waste. Food waste prevention is a form of source reduction and results in the greatest environmental, social, and economic benefits of all the tiers on the EPA's food recovery hierarchy. Quite often, preventing food waste is a matter of making small, creative changes to operations and providing education to form better habits. The following ideas are just a few of the ways to prevent food waste. Scheduling. A longer seated lunchtime gives students more time to eat, and recess before lunch helps students work up an appetite before sitting down to eat. So both of these scheduling tweaks can result in reduced food waste. Enhancing the cafeteria experience by paying special attention to maintaining a comfortable temperature, posting colorful artwork, and making sure students have enough space to comfortably eat all contribute to a pleasant eating experience. Sourcing food from local gardens and local school gardens and local farms encourages the consumption of healthy foods. Menu planning, including student taste tests and providing fewer menu options, can help prevent food waste. Offer versus serve and using bulk milk dispensers are just two of the many ways to help prevent food waste at the serving line. Lastly, the toolkit also addresses how to prevent food waste in lunches that students bring from home, and later on, Mary will share a resource for that in the chat. So next slide, please. Since offer versus serve, or OVS, is one of the most effective strategies schools can use to prevent food waste, I'd like to briefly focus on that. OVS is a method for serving food for reimbursable meals in the USDA Food and Nutrition Service Program. National School Lunch Program meals, for example, consist of 5 components: fruit, vegetable, whole grain, meat or meat alternative, and milk. Students in schools without an OVS policy would receive a tray with each of these 5 food components. But OVS allows students to decline up to 2 of these items, as long as they take a fruit or a vegetable. All grade groups must be offered 1 cup of milk, but under OVS, students may decline milk. OVS is optional in elementary and middle schools, but the USDA requires all high schools to use OVS. Next slide, please. The CPS program Space to Grow is a featured case study in the prevention section of the toolkit. Space to Grow transforms Chicago schoolyards into beautiful and functional spaces to play, learn, garden, and be outside. Schoolyard transformations prioritize physical activity, outdoor learning, and community engagement. So the Wadsworth STEM School in Chicago's Woodlawn community serves almost 500 students, and they received a Space to Grow schoolyard in 2016. They have a garden that engages students of all ages in learning about and caring for green spaces. This garden also serves as an extension of the classroom. The 7th grade students use it as a living lab to learn about soil formation, while 6th graders study cellular respiration using the garden's plants. Wadsworth students are learning how to grow nutritious food and benefit from the opportunity to connect with the natural environment in their school's backyard. And most relevant to this toolkit, when children grow their own food, they are more likely to try new foods and are less likely to waste the fruits and vegetables of their labor. Next slide, please. After source reduction, recovering surplus food to feed hungry people is the next priority on the EPA food recovery hierarchy. And this is the next section of the toolkit. So this section includes policies and laws regarding share tables and the redistribution of food, how to set up and operate a share table, ideas for redistributing surplus food within a school, and donating surplus food to an outside organization. Next slide. Share tables are a place where students may place school food items that they choose not to eat, unopened factory sealed items, or whole fruit from the lunch program. These items are then available to other children during or after the meal service, at least pre-COVID. Leftover food from a share table may also be used in future reimbursable meals, used for school backpack programs or for snacks, and donated to a food pantry. While COVID restrictions will likely prevent students from taking items placed on share tables during the same meal period, there are many other options for redistributing the items placed on a share table. Slide 17, please. Next slide. That shows, here are some examples of signage for some different food recovery options. And these are especially helpful to see, I think, now during COVID when students can't take items off the share table, but again, there are many other options of what to do with recovered food.
And also available on 7 Generations Ahead website, just as you see them. And the Swank has some other ones on our website.
Yeah, and definitely be in touch if you have questions about this, because we've been doing a lot of work, which we'll talk about on a little bit on the next slide on the policy side. So there are several policies and laws at the federal and state levels that encourage the redistribution of school food to prevent wasted food and to protect donors from liability. Local health and safety codes may be stricter than federal and state guidelines, so schools should contact their local health departments before implementing share tables and other methods of redistributing surplus food. So here are a few of the key policies outlined in the toolkit. The USDA memo SP 41-2016, entitled The Use of Share Tables in Child Nutrition Programs, promotes the use of share tables and outlines the steps to set up and maintain one. It also includes food safety requirements and other best practices. The Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act protects those who donate food and those who receive donated food from civil and criminal liability if the food is donated to a nonprofit organization in good faith, if it's distributed to people in need, and if the ultimate recipient does not pay for the donated food. The Illinois State Board of Education's School Nutrition Programs Administrative Handbook supports eliminating food waste, including using leftovers for subsequent meals, offering share tables, and donating surplus food to nonprofit organizations. Illinois' newly enacted, just a couple months ago, SB 805, School Unused Food Bill, says that school districts shall incorporate a food sharing plan for unused food in their local wellness policy under Section 2-3.139. The food sharing plan shall focus on needy students, with the plan being developed and supported jointly by the district's local health department. So many states have developed standard operating procedures for share tables and the redistribution of returned food. While Illinois does not yet have a state-level SOP, schools in Illinois may refer to the examples in the toolkit when developing their own SOPs that comply with their local health and food safety codes. There's also a team working on a state-level SOP, as well as templates for schools to incorporate food sharing plans into their wellness policies. Next slide. The toolkit provides steps for setting up and operating share tables and for redistributing share table surplus. The steps for setting up a share table are conducting a waste audit, which we talked about before, of uneaten food over several days, contact your local health department, gather supplies, create standard operating procedures, and communicate what you're doing with staff, students, and families. It also provides guidance for redistributing share table surplus within the school to school families or donating to an outside nonprofit community partner. Next slide. East Aurora School District 131 in Aurora, Illinois, has developed an exemplary food recovery and redistribution program that serves the food insecure in their community, and it keeps precious food out of landfills. Their program began as a collaboration among the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry, Sodexo Food Service, Feeding Illinois, the Northern Illinois Food Bank, and their school board. The Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry serves the needs of over 11,000 families in Aurora and King County at its 2 locations in East and West Aurora. Surplus from share tables at 20 schools, which amounts to about 1,700 pounds weekly, is delivered to 2 food pantry locations, one of which is housed at East Aurora High School. The share table surplus is used to supplement the food pantry inventory. Sodexo food service staff also bag and freeze leftovers from the serving line. These bags get picked up weekly by Wayside Cross Ministries and provide 300 meals per week to the homeless. This is a true community effort that involves custodial staff, kitchen staff, students from the high school's transitional program, and food pantry volunteers. And their program provides a replicable model for other districts across Illinois and beyond. And we visited it, and it's truly, truly remarkable program. Next slide, please. The next section in the toolkit is all about composting. Composting is the best way to manage food scraps or leftover food that can't be redistributed or donated. Separating food scraps for composting can be done wherever food is prepared or consumed. The toolkit discusses the benefits of composting, the different types of composting, and how to start composting in your lunchroom, including how to set up a sorting station, ideas for education, and monitoring for contamination. Next slide.
I'll just add, Becky and I are both on the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition, and we will provide that link to numerous resources for service providers and also just the basics of how to compost.
Yes, thanks, Mary. Composting is a way of recycling food scraps and other organic material. Decomposition happens all on its own in nature when soil organisms such as bacteria, fungi, and worms consume organic matter for their own energy and create soil nutrients in the process. When we compost, we create conditions that optimize and speed up the decomposition process accomplished by soil organisms. Compost regenerates soils and can extend landfill capacity. Even more importantly, it helps mitigate climate change, and that composting reduces methane from landfills, and compost-amended soils sequester carbon from the atmosphere. Composting can also reduce your trash volume and landfill disposal costs. Next slide, please. The 2 main types of composting that schools can use are on-site composting and commercial composting. On-site composting is like backyard composting, since you can generally only include organic plant matter like fruit and vegetable scraps in yard trimmings. It can be a great hands-on activity for students to learn about decomposition, the soil food web, and how to turn food scraps into soil nutrients. With commercial composting, typically all food scraps, including meat and dairy, and food soiled paper can be composted. These materials are sorted in the lunchroom, then stored outside in a separate container until collected and hauled to a commercial facility. Commercial composting can lead to significant waste diversion and is a good alternative for schools that don't have space or the people to maintain an on-site bin. Once the initial logistics are arranged, relatively little maintenance is required. The toolkit has a detailed chart comparing on-site and commercial composting in schools that can help schools determine what might be the best choice for their particular situation. Next slide. So if you start composting in the lunchroom, you'll need to gather a team, conduct an initial waste audit, and set up a sorting station to sort materials at lunch. Sorting stations can be created using bins that you already have at school, which is shown in the image above, or you can use an all-in-one sorting station, which is shown in the image below. Regardless, a sorting station can consist of a share table, recycling, and commercial composting, as well as tray stacking. A strategic location for your sorting station, easy-to-read signage, and bin monitoring are all key to a successful sorting routine. Next slide. So one such school that diverts food scraps from the landfill is Washington Elementary in Evanston, Skokie School District 65. This K-5 school, which has 560 students, began composting in 2017 as part of a district pilot program. Through separating liquids, recycling, and composting food scraps, the school was able to divert 80 to 90% of total waste and between 30 to 50% of that was diverted through commercial composting. Every school that implements this type of program needs to tailor solutions to their specific challenges. At Washington, they implemented the program 2 grades at a time, since lunch is served in multiple spaces. They discovered that converting the multi-purpose room after lunch would need to be a team effort among the custodial and lunchroom staff. And since there was no official training available for staff, they had to learn alongside the students. For any commercial composting program to be successful, respect and appreciation for staff is essential. And for the program to work, principal buy-in and support is needed. Staff needs to have autonomy to solve problems when they arise, since they are the ones most familiar with lunchroom logistics. In this case, the school's principal was very committed to reducing food waste, so she implemented additional strategies as well. She arranged the schedule so that all students had recess before lunch, and she asked to have reduced portion sizes for hot lunches for the younger students. Next slide, please. The next section in the toolkit is about educating and engaging students. Food waste presents an authentic problem and provides excellent opportunities for place-based and hands-on learning. By actively participating in food waste reduction efforts, students learn the environmental, economic, and social impacts of food waste. Food waste projects may be one-time events or longer-term efforts. Some activities may be integrated into the curriculum, while others may be extracurricular or service learning projects. All of these have the potential to empower students to make a difference. And in these photos, you can see students learning by doing. Next slide. Here are just a few ways to educate and engage students so that they can learn firsthand about reducing food waste. As we mentioned before, they can conduct a waste audit. They could take a field trip to a local landfill, a commercial composting facility, or a food pantry. They could write stories for the school newspaper or other news outlets. They could help manage the school food donation program, grow food in the school garden, monitor the lunchroom sorting station, and very, very importantly, advocate for change at the school or in the community level, and even at the national level. Next slide. Sustainability topics can be woven into the curriculum in many different school subjects: math, science, social studies, and much more. At Solorio Academy High School in Chicago, the 10th grade chemistry classes incorporate waste reduction, specifically zero waste thinking, into their chemistry curriculum. Students investigate both food waste and plastic pollution in and out of the classroom. They do this by exploring different types and representations of molecules and atoms found in garbage. Students create mathematical representations for the chemical and physical changes that occur when waste decomposes or when it's incinerated. Zero waste ambassadors volunteer at the lunchroom sorting station to help classmates recycle, compost, and recover food. And their club membership has grown from roughly 20 students to over 90 over the last few years. They teach about zero waste. The students teach about zero waste at neighboring schools and lead neighborhood cleanups. They've constructed an argument for changing consumption and waste systems. And both students and staff share what they've learned with their families and their communities so that these ideas can spread. Next slide, please. Communicating and celebrating success is one of the best ways to ensure the longevity of any waste reduction effort. This last section of the toolkit contains ideas for how to communicate success within your school community and with the community at large. And it also includes ideas for participating in recognition programs such as Green Ribbon Schools and the We Compost Recognition Program. And we'll send you links for both of those programs. These programs help create awareness about wasted food, acknowledge the work of those involved, demonstrate progress over time, inspire continued efforts at school, and inspire other schools to take action. They give schools a chance to share a positive story, and also these things encourage school families to reduce food waste at home. So that ends the sections of the toolkit, and now we're just going to get into some ideas of other ways to reduce waste and prevent waste in the lunchroom. So some things you see here are bulk condiment dispensers. Those can be used to avoid individual packets. Unbundling spork packets and using dispensers for utensils and napkins are really, really important and great ways to reduce unnecessary waste. Using bulk milk and water dispensers, these are more cost effective and they're very easy ways to provide water. Igloo coolers are another way if you don't want to do bulk water dispensers. Those big orange coolers that you see at like sporting events, those are great to use, and those can also be used for school events. Encouraging the use of reusable water bottles and water bottle refill stations, which are super common now in schools. That's obviously important to encourage avoiding disposable water bottles. If using condiment packets and bundled sport packets, you can encourage students to take only what they need. And zero waste lunches from home are easy to do by using reusable containers, utensils, and cloth napkins. And again, we'll share a resource later for zero waste lunches. Next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
Making the switch to reusable foodware can have a huge impact. It's better for student health, can lower purchasing and hauling costs, reduces waste, and has less environmental impact overall than using disposables. And it also, using reusables creates a better dining experience for students. The Center for Environmental Health's newly published Ditching Disposables, a toolkit for healthier foodware in K-12 schools, is designed to help schools make the transition from harmful single-use food serviceware to healthier, more sustainable alternatives. And the toolkit includes case studies of schools that have already transitioned to reusables, or they're already have begun their journey towards healthier options. It includes information regarding what is currently known about the toxicity of various food serviceware material types. It includes a snapshot of general product pricing information, which is super helpful if you're trying to make that transition at your school, dishwashing equipment suggestions, and much more. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you check this out, and we'll share that link as well. Next slide. Schools around the country are making the switch to reusable foodware, including urban and rural districts of all sizes, ones with centralized and decentralized kitchen models, and schools of all grade levels. Palo Alto Unified School District made the switch to reusables in 2019. They are a mid-sized public K-12 school district with 12 elementary schools, and they have an average daily lunch participation of 3,400 students. They have a centralized kitchen model, so it is very helpful to see in the case study how this works. They transitioned to 7 reusable foodware items, and they eliminated 436,540 units of disposable packaging every year, which avoids 8,152 pounds of waste.
Woo!
And they actually had a net annual cost savings of $25,000. So switching to reusables actually can save a school district money.
So exciting.
I know. It is amazing. These case studies are so helpful to see that what is actually possible. Next slide, please. Now we'll have some time for Q&A, and we would love to hear something possibly that you've learned that you didn't know about before, or if you have any stories to share about schools that have implemented some of these strategies you've just heard about. And Mary will be helping me to answer questions, especially because I can't see them.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I
can see the chat now. Yay!
You can hear.
I can see the chat. And Becky, if you all give me just a minute to go to my document to pull out all the links that we just talked about, is it going to kill if I put all the links at one chat comment?
I doubt it. And then that way people can just copy and paste them into a document or onto
all right, here
notes.
it goes. We'll give it a try.
And as we said before, we'll follow up with these resources. So if you can't get them now, don't worry about it.
Okay, let me look at the chat to see where we have some questions. Again, thank you all for your patience. Becky, you did an awesome job from having to come from backwards to get this done. Really appreciate all of your time, your efforts in collaboration to finish this project. It took about 2.5 years from the very first time we sat down as the Wasted Food Action Alliance, which was even called something before that as a task force. So this is a labor of love. It's a lot of different experts sharing of their information. I always say as an educator, we don't have secrets. We share everything. And there's just so much information in this document. I hope that as soon as the day is done, that you go, you download it, you even print it. So you have it as a working guide. So let me just look real quick before my chat to see maybe, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I see, let's see, sorry. How far and wide has this toolkit been disseminated? What are some of the results of its implementation?
That's a great question. Given that it was released just before the pandemic started, that's a good question. Well, we do know we've had, at least a few hundred downloads, and we've got lots of inquiries about it. We don't necessarily have people reporting back about, exactly, what they've implemented. But one of the big outcomes has been that we've had a number of inquiries from other states interested in adopting the toolkit for their state. And in particular, we had an inquiry from the state of Rhode Island, and I helped design and adapt a toolkit specific to Rhode Island. So they now have a waste reduction toolkit for Rhode Island schools. So that was a really cool experience. We've now since decided that I think we're moving forward. I think we're going to just recommend that people adapt and use the Illinois toolkit for their states. And if they obviously want to create their own, that's great, kind of basing it off of what we've done. But as I said at the beginning, it is super easy to kind of adapt the toolkit for Illinois to your state's needs. And people can kind of look up what policies their specific state has and rules and regulations as far as like recovering food and the other things that I mentioned. But unfortunately, we don't know exactly how people have implemented these strategies, but that is a great question. So if anybody has, on the call has implemented any of these things, we'd love to hear.
Okay, I have to go in and do separate. I got yelled at. It was too much. It wouldn't go through. So I'm going to piece out all of the links, hopefully into 3 or 4 sections. And while I do that, certainly open your mics and share any information that you have pertaining to food recovery and composting that you're doing at schools that you're connected with in your counties.
We get anybody that can speak?
Are you able to, is it only chat, Pete?
Well, I thought they had the ability, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so this is my first time, just so everybody knows, on Hopin, and
As
Becky's first time. Pete has a little bit more experience, but we're still navigating it. So thanks for learning with us.
Jen doesn't know how to open her mic. I get that. I don't know. I'm not getting any options in the moderator area to do anything.
I can only do me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so please put anything that I can share on your behalf or Becky can see and share on your behalf in the chat. And definitely see all of the links that copy and paste that I just put in. So Jennifer Jarlin, how can we as recycling program coordinators in Illinois help to get this out there? I do not have a list of school contacts. So we do have a couple ideas. Initially, there was going to be money to do a training throughout Illinois, to go through Illinois, like I previously did with the Recycling Works Toolkit that DCEO sponsored through the Illinois Recycling Association. So workshops still might be in there. Becky, you can talk from 7 generations ahead as to your conversations with ISBE and other entities to share this.
Yeah, I think through definitely, if anybody has a newsletter for their organization, I think that's definitely a way to help promote it. And even just if you have an email list for your particular organization, I mean, I think that's mostly how the word has been spread. Sharing links to the Wasted Food Action Alliance website, as well as 7 Generations Ahead, and just letting people know that the toolkit exists. And really, I think stressing that it's not an all or nothing thing. It's, there's so many options for easy to implement strategies, and it's set up so that you can just really look through it and see what's going to work best for your particular district or school and kind of meet you where you are. You don't have to automatically set up commercial composting in the lunchroom. Much smaller scale than that to begin with. But as far as the promotion, I feel like newsletters are definitely a way to go. Or if you're presenting about something relevant, putting a plug in that way. Now hopefully we'll be having more conferences in person or more conferences in general. So I think getting the word out that way so it reaches the people who the audience that we need to reach.
And also 7 generations ahead, Susan Casey and Becky have provided workshops nationally focusing on this toolkit. So we have some national recognition and even some modifications. Becky, I don't want to steal your thunder. Talk about rewriting it for another state.
Oh, I did. I mentioned you. I think you were working on the chat. Yeah, that we redid it for, or kind of reworked it for Rhode Island. But yeah, that's true. We have done, especially during the pandemic, we had an opportunity to do a lot of educational webinars nationally. So definitely the word has gotten out that way as well.
In any kind of school district social media platform, and share it with PTO, PTA groups, green groups, are all really important ways to get it distributed. Joan O'Keefe also mentioned the regional superintendent office. I know so many of them right now, are just
overwhelmed.
Their focus is on other things. And that's the problem. That's been the frustration of this, to finally get it all together in April of 2020. And you go, oh shit, all that hard work, it just kind of went, it just fell flat because schools, the fear of COVID and what to do and how to react and what's safe and what's not safe. It was just such a confusing, fearful time. So we are just reviving this toolkit now because things are starting to slowly open up, even though in my personal experience with Swank schools, I'm still doing Zoom presentations because they don't want the in-person speakers yet. But I'm hopeful that maybe after the school year, I can start doing some more waste audits and do some more hands-on education. I'm sure that's many of your hopes too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think once we're able to be back in schools, we can really talking about this toolkit in person, and especially when they start seeing, if we're in there doing waste audits, and they're seeing the volume of food waste, then obviously it opens up the conversation about, okay, now what can I do about this issue? But if anybody does have ideas of people that they think this should get in front of, please let us know. We definitely want to share it as widely as we can. And then also, if you are working with a school or a school district and you see that there's a specific need, I think highlighting specific things, aspects of the toolkit that will speak to the school or district you're working with is really important.
Jen Jarlin just put a note in here for anybody that would like to speak up, Becky, or for maybe you getting a chance to be on camera. It says, I found a button to request access, top right, near the recording and attendee notes 320, etc. So I see the recording, but I see 120. Try and click on something up there, and maybe others will have the opportunity to be viewed and speak.
Huh.
Oh, but then Jen said, when I leave, it says, so we will see all each other and communicate. I suspect there's another way to manage groups. Blue button, ask share video.
Yeah. If there's a blue button that allows you to share, you can click on that.
I don't see a blue button on my screen.
It would be at the top right corner, next to the. So what you're seeing in the top is the number of people that are watching, Mary. There's 24 on in this session.
Oh. And then where's the blue button, Pete?
I don't know. It comes and goes.
No.
We don't see it. Now there's Jennifer Jarlin coming in again.
Blue button, ask to share audio and video.
Okay, we got Jen in here. Mary, you might not see it, but can you get your audio on, Jen?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Then we need a few more people to click on that button.
Do have a mute button so I can.
That worked.
Right.
Wow.
And I can request to share my screen from here, but
You certainly can.
Yeah.
I don't know why Becky couldn't get in. There are some glitches with registration emails and.
Yeah, I can see the description. I just can't get in.
Fully registering versus partially registering as a guest and things like that I don't control, unfortunately.
All right. Well, with the last few minutes, then let's get off logistics. Thanks, Jen, for that epiphany. Because again, we're all kind of struggling to learn through this particular platform. But are there any other questions? Anything that anybody else would like to contribute before our hour is up? We have about 5 more minutes.
Any inspiring case studies? Any schools that you've seen doing anything like East Aurora that was kind of mind blowing?
Joan, I know you're on here. Joan O'Keefe. You work closely with schools, especially the high school, with the composting. Is there anything you can share with us? Seeing nothing.
She may have stepped away, or
there's Joan.
No,
it's Marta. Joan just stepped away. Okay. Hi, Marta.
I think, and also just I want to put it out there again too. If anybody has any questions, once they've kind of mulled things over, thought about things, download the toolkit. Is interested to know, for instance, what's going on with share tables statewide. You have a school that wants to set up a share table. What do I do? Please reach out. We like to stress I really feel like where there's a way it's possible to do these things safely during COVID. It's safe to set up a sorting station. It's safe to have a donation table. There's still plenty that schools can do, even though things do generally look different in schools this year.
Becky, without bringing the slide presentation back up with your email address, would you add that to the chat, please?
I don't think that
you can.
I don't know if people can see my chat.
Okay, I'm going to put it in.
I'll try.
It's Becky BCKY. Tell me. And I'll
at 7generationsahead.org. I just put it in there. I don't know if you can
there
see
it popped in.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Oh, good. Awesome. And
Well,
please be sure to download the toolkit and share it widely. We do ask though that if you are going to share it, please share the link to the website versus the sharing the PDF. Because that way, if it's downloaded from our website, then we can track who and how many downloads we have.
Terrific. Well, thank you all for being here today. Becky, thank you so much for again, your work that you've done on this and just being a super champ today with shooting from the hip on my cell phone. It worked, right? You guys heard it.
It was great, Mayor. Thank you, everyone. So the next session is going to begin at 11. We're going to hop in over there. The sniffer robotic, the drone that detects gases at landfills is starting now. And then we're going to be starting the Tazewell County food scrap kiosk program in just a moment. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to shut her down.
Thank you. Hop in.